Someone or something before?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I left my keys in my office once, and that doesn't sound like a big deal, does it? But let me put it in context, all right? 7 years ago. 7 years ago, a lot of things can happen, right? Like, you can develop allergies, your body changes. So I'm just setting that up because that was 7 years ago, Tony. I'm more mature now, okay?
Not really.
At that time, we had my laptop and a couple things stolen, so we had new policies where we had to just lock every single door before we had a service. At that time, we were rushing to get things done. We were having a youth service and we were a little behind, so we were running around, trying to figure things out, trying to make it happen. We were in a hurry. Also, when we found out I couldn't find my keys, we ripped the church apart. So I knew that we would have to clean up afterwards. We were also in a rush. I'm just making more excuses, okay? We were in a rush and we were trying to break into the door because someone said, hey, your keys are in your office. And I'm like, my keys are in the office. But we were trying to pick it, we couldn't do it. We tried the card thing, it didn't work. What are we gonna do? And then someone had the bright idea. They were like, hey, there's tiles into your office. Why don't you lift me up and you go through the tiles and down into your office? Well, when you're in a hurry, you don't make the best choices, do you? So I thought, perfect, we're gonna do that. So we lift him up and he's hanging. This is the wall and he's hanging and he's balancing. And I'm like, dude, I'm gonna have to push you. He's like, you're gonna have to push me. So he's hanging there and I just push his feet and he lands on into my office. Don't worry, no tiles were damaged. I know you guys were all concerned, but no tiles were damaged and he was perfectly fine. So he gets in and he's celebrating that we're in there and my keys weren't in there. No. And all of a sudden I remembered, wait, I put it in my coat. Isn't that ridiculous? But when you're hurrying, when you're rushing, you don't think straight. Tell me, you haven't been frustrated or impatient or angry or freaked out or made awful choices while being or feeling rushed, right? We aren't bad people, we just have this sense of hurry, that's deep inside of us, and when it comes out, it takes us out of character. So here's our thought today. What if hurry is actually one of, if not the single greatest barrier to you and your experience of God and faith in your life? Because most of us think that hurry is a good thing, right? Or at least a neutral thing. It's a way to get things done. You know, things get done faster, more efficient, right? Every man loves that, right? You use this tone, you're like, yeah, let's rush, let's get this done. But what if, just for the sake of our time today, that frantic pace, that never stopping, always multitasking, always trying to do more and faster and better is the main thing that's hurting your life, hurting your relationships, hurting your marriage, hurting your family, hurting your work, hurting your sense of self, your sense of joy, and your sense of peace. What if we need to quit hurrying? Before we go on any further, I've asked Lee to pray. Please hurry.
Well, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today that, God, we can actually celebrate the physical manifestation of what you are, Lord. You are the Father of humanity. You're the Father of everything. Jesus, like you are love. And Lord, that is the pinnacle of being human, of being not only a father, but of being a mother and just being a person, Lord. And I just pray, God, that as Tony delivers this very timely message, I just pray, Lord, that as he delivers, Lord, to just speak through him, Lord. And God, let this message come through, Lord, because so many times we rush through the things when we should really be stopping and taking the time to watch. So thank you so much for today, Lord. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Susan. Let's start off the quote today. You must ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. That is a big statement, isn't it? Ruthlessly eliminate hurry. If you don't know, I'm a new father. So, as a new father, I wanted to ask for advice to other fathers. And wouldn't you expect a list of things to do, right? Like, pray more, maybe focus more, do this or that more, or be more spiritual. I'm telling you, every man that I talked to, in their own way, they said this. They said, cherish everything. I'm a shock to do, right? Asking a bunch of guys, right? I love asking guys because they kind of straighten up. They're like, well, let me tell you. Cherish everything. Especially in the cultural context that we live in. Because there's a researcher from London School of Business and Finance that says more and more people suffer today from what he calls hurry sickness. And we have a definition here. Hurry sickness, it's a compulsive need to do more, to go faster, even when there's no objective reason to be in such a rush. Have you ever been in a rush where you really have no reason to be? Yeah. Like, you will stand at an elevator, and you'll keep pressing that close button even though it doesn't make a difference. Or you're standing at a light, it doesn't even make a difference. Or you're impatient in a line. Being impatient is not going to move the line, is it? And there's some clear signs of hurry sickness at work in our lives. And if we pay attention, there is a cure for it. And here they are. A nagging sense that there is not enough time. If you have hurry sickness, you'll have this nagging sense day after day that there's not enough time. Like, how often do you tell your kids or tell the people that you're with to hurry up just because you feel like time is running out? Here's the thing about hurry. Hurry isn't actually saving you any time. You're not accumulating seconds to spend later, are you? All that energy and man time where you're just like, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. This Proverbs 21:5 says this in the Message paraphrase. Careful planning puts you ahead in the long run. That's important. It's important to be organized. It's important to have those things in life. But hurry and scurry puts you further behind. Hurry just reinforces that feeling that you're running out of time. But there's never enough time, is there? Another sign is a lack of meaning or depth or joy in life. As you try to do more, less of it really feels meaningful or significant. You do a lot, but you don't remember. Have you ever done that? Where you go through the entire week and you're like, oh, that was a lot. And someone asks you, what'd you do? And you're like, I don't know. Right? There's a lot. It's very insignificant to us. Whatever you do, it feels meaningless. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says this. There's a season, a time appointed for everything and a time for delight in event or purpose under heaven. It's completely different attitudes, right? Two different viewpoints. This says that there is a season for everything and a time. When you're standing in a line, you don't think there's a season for this, right? There's a purpose for this. You just want to hurry. You can't really hurry and experience peace and joy in life. Did you know that? There's a lack of meaning in it because we're always trying to get her done. There's also a lack of compassion. People who are in a hurry don't have time to help. Why? It's not because we're cold-hearted, cruel people. It's just very simple. We're just in a rush. Jesus gets asked a question, who is my neighbor? And so this guy's trying to trap Jesus. So Jesus is like, let me tell you a story. So there was a man. He gets jumped, beaten, and robbed, and left on the side of the road. He's inside of the road, and a priest comes by. You know, someone that has dedicated their life to God and serving God. He's in a hurry. He has too many important things to do than help this man, so he walks by him. A Levite, one that was set apart and chosen by God, has this status, walks by the man who's hurting because he's in a hurry. And then there's a Samaritan, a guy who doesn't have any reason to help the man who was robbed. And he goes above and beyond and helps the man. So Jesus tells a story. And then he says this to the man who asked the question. Luke 10, 25, 37 says this. Which of these three do you think proved himself a neighbor to the man who encountered the robbers? And of course, a rhetorical question, so he's like, the one who showed compassion and mercy to him. Right? So Jesus said, go and constantly do the same. Think about it. How often do I rush by someone in need, a friend, a wife, a colleague at work, someone in crisis? We're always in a hurry. We don't have enough time to help. That's hurry sickness. Finally, there's a lack of grace. When hurry's in you, you're going to feel more and more deprived of grace. All right? We live hurry lives. So when we do that, we're not storing up extra time. We're so fascinated, we're so focused on rushing and getting things done that we become impatient, frustrated. We get stressed and we get angry. Hurry sickness studies actually show that being in a hurry is not just a stress reaction, it's a stress trigger. It triggers stress in us because our brain actually releases more adrenaline into the body when we're hurried. And when you have that adrenaline, you feel more stressed, you're more concerned, you kind of feel like life is somehow in danger, which is why you get angry, we get impatient with ourselves and others. So we stop experiencing grace because we lack grace in our lives. It's why when we're in a hurry, we do so many bad things, or so many bad things come out of us. Hurried people never look happy. I was looking through and going through all of this, so I had to go grocery shopping after work. And I kept telling myself, I'm not in a hurry. I'm going to take my time, I'm going to enjoy the moment. Grocery store isn't a place to try this, okay? I'm just telling you this now. So, I'm trying to smile, enjoying it. So I get to the line, self-checkout. There's a long line. Come on, people. But I'm trying to smile. So I'm like, the cashier? There's only 2 people. Perfect. I go behind them, and I'm waiting. The first guy is counting out his nickels. Come on, dude. Devin. Just do it. He's counting. I'm smiling yeah, right? The second guy was like, I can't find Cheese Whiz. So the cashier, as a good Samaritan, was like, I know where it is. And he gets out of his till and runs. Man, why are you helping him? We have a line here. I'm standing there, and I am impatient, but trying to smile through it. And all of a sudden I hear, Tony, Pastor Tony, look over. Hey, how's it going? I hope you didn't see my face, because I was very angry. He's like, I was like, what are you up to? He's like, standing in line, like you. When he said that, it hit me. These people are just like me, standing in line. What am I going to do when I go up to the till? That's when we begin to look at people through grace instead of hurried sickness. Jeremiah 2:25, the Message paraphrase. Jeremiah is actually speaking to a people who have gone away from God and have their own pace in life now. And this is what Jeremiah says. This is one of the first messages he says. He says, slow down and take a deep breath. How many of us need to do that? Right? Slow down and take a deep breath. How many people around you do you want to say that to? Right? It says, what's the hurry? Why wear yourself out? Just what are you after anyways? It says, but you, talking to those that have their own pace now, have gone away from God's pace. They say, I can't help it. I'm addicted to foreign gods. I'm addicted to this way of living. I am sick with hurry and I can't quit. Let's hurry. But here's the thing. Here's the good news, all right? Jesus had a very specific response to her. And it's found in Luke 10:38-4. We'll be reading it out of the Amplified Bible. Verse 38. Now, while they were on their way, Jesus entered a village called Bethany. That's a pretty name. A woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. Just so you know, in that day, hospitality was the ultimate cultural value. Not to show great hospitality would actually dishonor yourself and would dishonor your guests. So you wouldn't do that. So imagine Martha. She was feeling stressed around her home because Jesus is there. Verse 39. And she had a sister named Mary who seated herself at the Lord's feet and was continually listening to his teachings. The writer wants you to see something very specific. It says a sister named Mary. Because when we are in hurry, when we have hurry sickness, it's usually not the people, it's not the people that are our neighbors that really get hurt all the time. It's those that are really close to us. So the writer wants you to know that Mary isn't just another person. She's a sister. She's loved by Martha. For you. But Martha was very busy and distracted. Ever been there? With all her serving responsibility, she has responsibility. So of course she's busy and she's distracted. And she approached him and said, Lord, is it of no concern to you that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her to help me and do her part. Martha's like, Jesus, I'm the one who's busy. I'm the one who's being productive here. God, I'm the one who's being proactive. I'm the one serving. I'm the one who's hurrying around trying to get things done and honor you. So the Lord responds to her. He says, Martha, 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 you're worried and bothered and anxious about so many things. But the one thing that's necessary, it says, for Mary has chosen the good part, which will not be taken away from her. Just reflect on this for a second. Could you hear the hurry in Martha's voice? Could you hear the rush? Could you hear the anxiety of all the preparation, all the stress, all that she has to do, all the pressure? Like, what if it doesn't get done? What if it's not perfect? What if our guests aren't feeling honored? And you know how that feels. When you have that stress, when you have that burden, when you have that weight, when you have that pressure on you and it's pressing on you and you're carrying it and you're lopsided. Like Mary in hurry, you begin to make assumptions. Martha made assumptions, And this is what she thought, that Jesus doesn't care about her struggle. Like, Lord, you don't care, do you? Don't you notice everything that I do? Aren't you going to do something about it? Aren't you going to tell her to do her part? Isn't that how we feel when we're rushed? Like we're the only one person who's struggling and no one really cares? It's hurry sickness. Martha also assumes that she's all alone, doesn't she? She said, my sister's left me to do all the work. Have you ever thought that? Have you said that to a spouse, to a significant other, to a colleague, to a roommate? We're all alone in this, in our hurry. We feel alone, so we start to hurry more. And here's the thing. Martha wasn't alone. Was she? The God of the universe was actually in her living room, just hanging out right there. And you see, when hurry gets in us, we start to miss the one thing that matters, that God is with us. In that moment, in your moment, God is with us. He's not stressed. He's not anxious. He's not demanding. He's not putting pressure on you. He's not asking us to hurry. But He's with us. It said, you start to see Only what can go wrong. Only what is going to get done or isn't going to get done. Only what isn't perfect. Only what could hurt our reputation. Only what we feel guilty about. So the main thing we need to do is ruthlessly and intentionally eliminate hurry in our lives. And how? We're already told how. Now look at verse 39 and 34. Jesus says, "But only one thing is necessary for Mary, has chosen the good part." If you choose, you have options. You have a decision to make. Mary chooses not to be in a hurry. She chooses to enjoy the moment. She chooses the good part, which will not be taken from her. Do you know what she chose? Verse 39. She had a sister named Mary who seated herself at the Lord's feet and was continually listening to the teaching. She chose to sit with God, to be there with God, to enjoy God in the moment of hurry and chaos, constantly listening and learning. You want to ruthlessly eliminate hurry in your life? Do the Mary. She's on God's time. Be on God's time. There's this guy who was living with us for a while. And what he would do is that we'd be watching something and he would pace like this. He'd just keep pacing. We're just like watching, just trying to enjoy the movie. And he'd just pace like this. And Bethany would say, "Okay, sit down. You are making me nervous. Sit down so we can enjoy it." Okay. A lot of us are in such hurry that we need to sit down. One point and only point today is that deal with your hurry sickness by being in God's time. You can't do this alone. You can't just try harder to slow down and be more patient. Jesus puts it this way. And many of you know these words in Matthew 11, 28, 30. ESV. It says this, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." It doesn't say, "Hey, look, we're going to hurry, we're going to have tasks, we're going to have these do lists. When you're with God, there's going to be more pressure and all that kind of stuff." He says, "I will give you rest." It says, "Take my yoke upon you, learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light." Jesus is saying this. Don't try this alone. You're already lopsided with the hurry sickness in your life. A yoke is a harness that two oxen would be harnessed together. They would plow the field in step. And it only worked if they moved together in the same pace. Do you know where Jesus is going with this? Jesus is saying, when you come to me, I'm with you. I'll teach you my rhythm. I'll teach you my pace. No slower, no faster, just the best. Take my yoke upon you. If you look at Jesus' life, he intentionally set up a rhythm of life to resist the temptation of hurry. He was busy. He had demands, he had pressure, he had things to do. He had things that came up. But he resisted the temptation of hurry sickness. So here's some practical things he did. Some practical things you can do. As cliche as it sounds, it's so important that we would get up and spend time in prayer. Don't want to try. I'm telling you, just like that scripture said, slow down. Breathe. Sometimes prayer does that for us. And we're able to sit down and slow down. He would sometimes wait. When others felt the need to rush. There's so many times when people were like, "Jesus, we need to get going. Jesus, we got no time to do. Jesus, we got this. Jesus." You need to resist the temptation of someone else's hurry sickness that pushes you in that way. He had the courage to say no, even to urgent requests. A lot of us need to say no. No is a powerful word. Some of us need to say yes more. Some of us need to say no more too. And you know when you're in prayer, you resist the rush, and you're in God's timing. That's His yoke. That's His rhythm in life, and we get to learn it from Him. One final verse. Psalm 27, 13 and 14. Amplified version. I would have despaired. I would have lost hope had I not believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord. Wait for Him and confidently expect the Lord. Be strong and let your heart take courage. Yes, wait for and confidently expect the Lord. What's His name? The hospital, and you have your child there. You are in a hurry. You want things to get done, right? You're always rushing. There was this one time where Manny, he wasn't latching, that lazy bugger. So he was losing weight. So we had to meet with a consultant. This consultant, he's just like his mom. He wants it now. Manny was crying. A few moments turned into an hour. And I wasn't just walking my kid around the room. I was pacing, I was stomping, I was mad, I was saying these Christian things that were so great. Praising God. And throughout that time, I would be speaking to him, I would say, everything's all right. Everything's all right. This is all I'm going to make you stronger. And the temptation to put the bottle in his mouth was there. But nurses would come in and out and they would say, he has to be hungry so that we can deal with it. And I was like, let's just feed him a little bit. And Becky's like, no. And then she would be like, let's feed him a little bit. I'd be like, no. We could not interrupt the process. He was screaming. And I would say, I love you. And he would look at me like, feed me. Yeah. Like, everything is all right. Sometimes he would smile at me, being like, Dad, I'm cute, feed me. 90 minutes went by. And she walks in. And Manny latches. Perfect. She shows us. We need to resist the temptation of stopping the process that God wants to do. Because a lot of us are in a rush. God is saying everything's all right. I love you. I love you. And you're like, just feed me then. Feed me. But we don't want to interrupt what God is doing because His perfect timing would bring out the perfect results. And in your waiting, you need to know God is with us. You know, life can be suddenly too difficult not to quit hurrying. Friends, life is too difficult not to do this, to quit hurrying. Your life is too meaningful not to do this, to quit hurrying. Your family is too important not to do this, to quit hurrying. Your challenges are too great not to do this. It means that you're going to have to make a choice. And today, this week, you intentionally can commit to start to eliminate the hurry sickness in your life. Will you resist the temptation to rush in when you don't need to? Will you stop and take that moment to be still and take a breath? To take God in, be quiet. Remember that God is right there with you. Because you see, this slowing down won't happen by accident. It won't happen just because you dream about it, because you want it. You can't do it without God's grace. And He won't do it without your intention, your will, and your effort. You choose to take His yoke. You choose to walk in His steps. So what's it going to be? Because I quit praying. Let's pray.